For most people, fire means warmth, it means cooking, it means protection from predators. But for ancient humans, fire may have done something even more important. It quietly made dangerous water safer. The incredible part is, they probably had no idea it was happening. Imagine filling an animal skin with river water. It's cloudy. Small bits of dirt float across the surface. You don't trust it completely, but it's the only water you found all day. So you pour it into a hollowed-out stone bowl. You place the bowl beside the fire. Or maybe you drop hot stones into the water until it begins to steam. You're not trying to kill invisible germs. You don't even know invisible life exists. You're simply making the water warm. Maybe it tastes better. Maybe it's more comfortable to drink on a freezing night. Maybe you're preparing soup. Whatever the reason. Something extraordinary is happening. As the water heats, millions of bacteria begin to die. Parasites lose their ability to infect. Many dangerous microorganisms simply can't survive high temperatures. Thousands of years before science, humans accidentally discovered one of medicine's greatest tools: heat. Today, every camper knows the rule. If you're unsure about water, boil it. Modern survival manuals recommend bringing water to a rolling boil before drinking it. It's one of the oldest and most reliable methods of purification ever discovered. Our ancestors learned this lesson without laboratories, without microscopes, without chemistry. They learned it because they noticed another pattern. People who regularly heated food and water often became sick less frequently. They couldn't explain why, but they didn't need to. Survival doesn't require understanding every answer. Sometimes it only requires recognizing what works. Archaeological evidence tells us humans mastered controlled fire hundreds of thousands of years ago. By around 400,000 years ago, fireplaces were becoming common across parts of Europe, Africa, and the Middle East. Families gathered around hearths every evening. They cooked meat, roasted roots, smoked fish, boiled plants, and quite possibly heated their drinking water. Not every tribe did it, not every time. But whenever it happened, the odds quietly shifted in humanity's favor. A child who might have died from contaminated water lived. An elder weakened by illness recovered. One small habit, repeated across thousands of generations, could slowly reshape an entire species. This is something historians call cumulative culture. Unlike most animals, humans don't have to rediscover everything from scratch. One person learns something useful. They teach their children. Their children improve it. The next generation improves it again. A wolf today hunts much like wolves hunted thousands of years ago. A lion stalks prey almost exactly as its ancestors did. But humans keep building on yesterday's discoveries. Fire became cooking. Cooking became safer food. Safer food led to healthier communities. Healthier communities survived long enough to make even more discoveries. Progress wasn't sudden. It was unbelievably slow. One observation at a time. One generation at a time. One campfire at a time. And eventually, those tiny improvements became civilization. But even fire couldn't solve every problem. Sometimes there wasn't enough wood. Sometimes people were constantly traveling. Sometimes there simply wasn't time to boil every drop of water. So ancient humans developed another survival strategy, one that had nothing to do with tools, and everything to do with memory. Long before humans drew maps, they carried them in their minds. Imagine standing in the middle of an endless landscape. No roads, no signs, no cities, no GPS, just forests, mountains, grasslands, and rivers that changed with every season. Finding water wasn't enough. You had to remember which water kept people alive. Every tribe had someone who knew, usually the oldest. Not because they were the strongest, but because they had survived the longest. They remembered the spring hidden beneath the cliffs, the stream that never dried up, the pond that made 3 children sick one summer, the river that flooded every rainy season. That knowledge wasn't written anywhere. It lived inside people. Lose the elder, and you might lose generations of survival knowledge overnight. Anthropologists often describe hunter-gatherers as walking libraries. Their memories contained thousands of pieces of information: where berries grew, when animals migrated, which trees produced edible fruit, where predators usually hunted, and, most importantly, where safe water could always be found. Imagine asking someone today where the nearest grocery store is. Most people could answer without thinking. Now imagine your grocery store moved every few months. Sometimes it disappeared completely. Sometimes it became poisonous. That's what finding water was like. Memory wasn't just useful. It was survival. Some researchers believe ancient humans could remember enormous territories, hundreds of square miles, every hill, every valley, every stream, every reliable spring, not because they had extraordinary brains, but because forgetting meant dying. Children began learning these routes almost as soon as they could walk. They followed adults everywhere, watching, listening, remembering. No classrooms, no notebooks. The landscape itself became the textbook. A strange-shaped rock meant water was nearby. A certain group of trees meant underground moisture. A valley filled with reeds almost always meant a hidden spring. The land spoke its own language. Ancient humans simply learned how to read it. Even the stars helped. Long before compasses, people used the sun during the day, the stars at night, mountain ranges, the direction rivers flowed. Everything became a landmark. Everything became part of an invisible map carried from one generation to the next. Modern neuroscience tells us something fascinating. The human brain is exceptionally good at building mental maps. It's one of the reasons London taxi drivers develop larger hippocampi after memorizing thousands of streets. Now imagine doing that, without roads, without signs, across an entire wilderness, for your entire life. Our ancestors trained their memories every single day, because they had no choice. Every successful journey strengthened the map. Every mistake rewrote it. Eventually, certain watering places became more than just places to drink. They became meeting points. Families returned year after year. Children grew up playing beside the same springs their grandparents had visited. Stories were told around campfires. Marriages happened there. Trade happened there. Knowledge spread there. Some archaeologists believe these dependable freshwater sources helped shape the first long-term gathering places for humans. Not villages, not cities, but familiar places people trusted. Places worth returning to. Because nothing builds a community faster than reliable water, and nothing destroys one faster than losing it. But nature has a cruel habit. Sometimes, the water disappears. A spring dries up. A river changes course. A drought lasts longer than anyone can remember. Suddenly, everything you've learned, everything your grandparents taught you, stops working. So what did humans do when the water they depended on simply vanished? They did something almost unbelievable. They followed it, sometimes for hundreds of miles. Imagine waking up one morning, and the river you've depended on your entire life is gone. Not polluted, not frozen, gone. Months without rain have turned it into cracked earth. The fish are gone. The animals have disappeared. Even the birds have stopped coming. Staying means starvation. So your tribe makes a decision. You leave. For ancient humans, migration wasn't about adventure. It was about survival. For hundreds of thousands of years, people followed water wherever it went. Rivers became the first highways, not because someone built them, but because life naturally gathered around them. Where there was fresh water, there were plants. Where there were plants, there were animals. And where there were animals, humans followed. Archaeologists have found that many of the oldest human campsites sit beside ancient rivers and freshwater springs. These waterways provided far more than drinking water. They offered fish to catch, animals to hunt, plants to gather, and reliable paths through unfamiliar landscapes. Even during the Ice Age, rivers acted as lifelines across frozen continents. When climates changed, humans adapted. Some groups moved hundreds of miles over generations, following rivers that slowly shifted with the seasons. They weren't wandering aimlessly. They were tracking life itself. Eventually, these same rivers became the birthplace of civilization. The Nile, the Tigris, the Euphrates. Long before they supported cities, they first kept small bands of hunter-gatherers alive. Water didn't simply shape the land, it shaped the journey of our entire species. But water influenced more than where humans traveled. It slowly changed what happened inside our own bodies, and that may have been the greatest transformation of all.